Hey guys, welcome in. My name's Coach Chris.
And I'm Tami Tomlinson, owner of Living Life Now.
Welcome to our channel where we discuss.
Integrative approaches and healthier living. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Integrative Approaches and Healthier Living. I'm Tami here with Coach Chris. Welcome in this week.
Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about self-control, dopamine. You're really going to want to stay tuned because today we're going to be diving into the best hack that you can possibly do if you're trying to set goals and move forward and make changes to your health.
Hey, Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Tammy, how are you doing?
I am good. I am good. Things are
Good.
coming along around here, and hubby's back on both feet, so that is good. That relieves a little bit of my caregiver stress, and
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting caught up, talking about the to-dos and the lists and time management, trying to stay on task and on point and not get distracted.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it seemed like I did talk to your husband, and he seems like he's definitely doing better. So it's definitely good to hear and see.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
know you guys were a little concerned about that for a while, but yeah.
It's exhausting. There's just no
Yeah,
other way
yeah.
to say it. It's exhausting. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yep,
Absolutely.
but it's all good.
Yeah.
So, tips for time management and lists or goal setting and things like that. What are some tips or thoughts that you have?
A lot of the times people will come to me, and I'm sure Tammy can agree with this. They'll have like, advantageous goals. You may have advantageous goals, like things that you're really, hoping to change in your life, whether that's for health, whether that's for personal reasons. Um, but from a coaching aspect of things, if you don't make room for them in what we call your self-control pool, then you probably will end up failing at those things because
Okay. So,
generally, as humans, we only have so much self-control a day, right?
okay, so self-control pool. Can you
Yes,
elaborate on
yes.
that a smidge?
One thing we do know by the scientific research is that people have a limited supply of what we call self-control a day. And so we call this your self-control pool. And why this is important is because, well, generally as humans, we use all of our self-control every day, like, or at least a vast majority of it. And it's something that it grows, or it kind of meets where we're at in life, how much self-control we typically exert during a given day. So if you're trying to add something in, essentially something has to kind of come out. And the idea behind, setting goals and creating habits is that if you can create habits and do something very small for a long period of time, then it becomes a habit and it becomes much easier. And we know, again, by the research, that habits take a lot less self-control than just new actions. So trying to establish new actions takes a lot more self-control, and generally, people, this is where they kind of get hung up. Does that answer your question, Tammy?
Yes, it does. And a couple of things popped into my mind on that. And diet is one of them, right? Or,
Right.
like in my own situation is food sensitivities. And it could be somebody who has developed an allergy or is just simply wanting to lose weight. There takes a lot of self-control to not eat the thing that could be causing the issue, or maybe you're newly diagnosed diabetic and now you need to cut back on sugars, carbs. So that was one of the first things that popped into my brain is self-control in the eating area of life, because boy, there's a lot of things that I miss. One of the things I said the other day was a sour cream donut. I'm like, oh, the thought of a sour cream donut.
Yes.
But
Yes.
no, not so much anymore. So yeah, that was one of the things I was thinking of. But yes, that
Yeah.
explained it. And I think it covers a wide variety of areas in our life. And it's not just things that we're doing all day long. It could be things that we're thinking about that we want to do that maybe we shouldn't be doing. that just don't serve us well or serve us
Right.
best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, before we get that deep into it, there's a couple of things. One, since you brought up the donut thing, there's this like, I'm not sure if you've ever heard about this study, but it does fit with this topic and self-control. Um, so this study really kind of gained popularity on like TED Talks back in the day. Um, the study was they took kids and what they did was is they gave them a Twinkie. I'm pretty sure it was like a Twinkie or something. And basically they gave them a choice. They said here, they give their Twinkie and they say, if we come back in like say like an hour and you didn't eat your Twinkie, we'll give you another one, right? And so they did this, and I think they repeated this twice. And like basically, if they came back and they had both Twinkies, they would get another Twinkie on top of it. Uh, now, what is the gravity of this study? Well, they found that these kids they were able to exhibit self-control and delayed gratification at a young age, were better educated, had higher paying jobs down the road as well. So it was quite interesting. We'll put the study. I'll find it and put the study in the comments below. Um,
So I'm going to challenge our viewers that have little ones at home to test that. And it doesn't have to be a Twinkie. Maybe it's something else that they really enjoy, but why not try that? You put the one piece of food down, just like Chris was just explaining, and then come back later. Maybe it's not a whole hour, maybe you do 15 minutes or something, depending on the age of the child and whatnot, and see how that goes. And maybe that's something that you can work with on your children and make it a fun activity, right? And I'm no, I've not ever heard that study before, and I think that's amazing. And I think
yep,
that's super cool.
yep. And I'm gonna spill into one more. So I was recently listening to Andrew Huberman talk, and he was talking about dopamine, and like, and he talked about one study in particular that really, really caught my interest, and I wanted to bring up in this topic as we kind of, we give you kind of the reasons ahead of time as to like what we're probably going to recommend to you later in regards to this video. But one thing he talked about in this video was um, dopamine, and a study particularly where they studied rats and where they depleted one group of rats of dopamine, and then the other rats had healthy levels of dopamine. And the interesting thing that they found was that the rats that were depleted of dopamine would not even lift themselves like maybe an inch to go feed themselves. They were still hungry. They still had all the hunger cues, but they would not like even lift themselves an inch to go and get the food, versus the rats that had high levels of dopamine would they would wind themselves through the maze for, the food. And um, now that we've talked about this and dopamine generally seems to be like one of the key like hormones in humans as well that really deals with things like self-control and our ability to work. Anything else you want to jump into, Tammy, on this note before we move
No,
forward?
no. The only thing I was thinking, and you kind of answered it, is just to explain to the viewers what exactly dopamine is. And you just said the hormone, and yeah, so
Yes.
save people
Yes.
from having to take a dictionary out or
Yeah,
Google it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of we could go much deeper on that topic. I mean, dopamine has a lot to do with happiness and fulfillment and so many other things. It's generally also the hormone that's released when we do things like drink alcohol and other things like that. But that's gonna spill into our next area, which we were talking just briefly about as we kind of got into like these studies, which is, things that we probably shouldn't be doing, or things that we should try to like move out of the picture that deplete our self-control and or deplete our dopamine. So, Tammy, you said something as we were getting onto here, like you were talking about your friend. So why don't you like bring that one up, and then I'll talk about like, something kind of in relation to that as well.
Yes, yes, of course. So she was telling me the other day that she installed an app on her phone. I don't know the exact name. I will figure it out and I will add that to our description and below the video for you. I'm sure there's multiple of them, but nonetheless, it's an app that you install on your phone and it helps you to discern whether or not you need to actually be viewing an additional app that you may have clicked on. So, like, for example, if you're on social media a lot and you have Facebook or TikTok or whatever on your phone, and you have this original app installed, you go to click on one said app, it will pause and make you pause and think, why am I really opening this app? And is it because you need to? There's something that you need to do? Or is it because maybe you're bored and you're doom scrolling, or what is the reason really? And it's just, I think it's a good reminder to just take a moment to pause and think, hmm, am I real is this really what I need to be doing right this moment in time? Or can I put this away and continue to focus on that which will be serving me better?
Yeah.
So that's the gist.
Yep, that's the gist. And to that note, I have somebody that I'm working with, like currently, they're a client of mine, and basically they had the hardest time. They were one, they weren't feeling motivated, and two, they were just having the hardest time sticking to their goals. But at the same time, they were telling me that they were playing lots of video games. They weren't on social media, but they were spending a lot of time on like the news and just media sources in general. And knowing what I know about this, this topic, I challenged them like, hey, like, why don't you try taking, half of those apps, half of those things off of your phone, get it. And whenever you're trying to work, doing other things during the day, m- move your phone out of the picture, get it away from you, especially if you're not using it for work. And literally like went from like 1 week where to or sorry, several months in a row where he was not able to, keep with his goals, was not feeling motivated, was just kind of just, just not where he wanted to be, to where now he like literally after a week he's feeling much more motivated. I'm getting messages every day like, "Oh, hey, I hit my workouts. Oh, hey, like I went biking," and he's
Reconfigured, re-engineered his focus.
ri truthfully, yes. And to the point also, he's actually set up safeguards. I didn't ask him to message me these things and stuff like that. Like he set up safeguards to make sure that these areas are safe, like his goals are safe. So it's like he has all this extra dopamine, all this extra self-control. Now he's capable of doing these things that he really wants to do. And that's the key, like really like safeguarding your self-control, safeguarding your dopamine. Things like, and this is a uh, general recommendation, the same thing as I challenged him to do, I'm going to challenge you to do. Try to get yourself out of spending too much time in front of media, like whether that's social media, whether that's Facebook, whether it's even like YouTube in this case, or watching too much TV or spending too much time on the news. And another big one is video games, video games. Basically, dopamine from a natural standpoint, in our human evolution is supposed to be released, but we've evolved that our dopamine generally is released on the other side of work, something that feeds our purpose, something that helps us, like moves us forward. Things like video games, things like scrolling on Instagram, get that excitement going for cheap. The problem with that is every time that happens, that depletes your dopamine. Every time your body releases dopamine, like it depletes it. And so not only is you increase the threshold, it's just like with alcohol. Like when you drink alcohol, you have to keep drinking more in future occurrences because of that dopamine threshold being raised. The same thing holds true with video games. The same thing holds true with social media. So like to keep that going, you have to increase it, but at the cost of your life, at the cost of being able to work for real things that like your health, real things like the way that you want to look, the education you want to have, the job that you want to have. Tammy?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about the video games, and I'm thinking about the younger generation. And and when they lose the video games, whether they're playing by themselves or with other people, and they get frustrated and upset. And so then they have to go back and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. What do you think that is doing to a younger person's dopamine, self-control, self-esteem levels in their lives?
You know,
Or is
I
that
mean,
too deep of a is that too deep of a
no, no, no.
question?
Honestly, I honestly think like I, I'm not a child psychologist. I mean, a
Right, right.
therapist or anything like that. I think, honestly speaking, if we just look at the research of it, like we're all smart enough to devise that, we're, in my opinion, setting up that child for failure. We are putting that child in a position of where they don't know how to do real work for things. Their idea of work is, their quest or whatever they're doing on a video game, which is very little. And some of it to the point where it's like some of these games, it's just like you just show up, you just show up and you get your badge, it's like they get you with this like 100-day streak, people will
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
show up, they will sign into the game, do a couple of things just to keep their streak going, and but at the expense of, again, their dopamine, like expensive, losing a lot of their self-control, to do the things that they want with their life and throughout their day.
So then what would we shift? How would we help somebody shift their focus from, say, a video game or an activity? Maybe it's a glass of a wine every night, and they're noticing that they want to shift from that, or they're noticing that maybe they feel like their child is being on platforms or phones or games or whatever too much.
Right.
What tip, trick, or technique would we share or offer to somebody who is asking, how do I make this change? What do I do?
Right. I think it's truthfully like right now, the if it's a person listening to this, if it's a client that I'm working with, there's a desire to make change. There's a desire to like set a goal to move towards something, right? So the point would be is to start setting goals, like start setting small goals and try to feel like one with the other. And so, like, if we're talking to an adult, then it would be like, okay, well, why don't we, you're not doing any activity. Why don't you try to walk every day for 15 minutes? But at the same time, why don't you try to spend 10, or 15 minutes less time on video games or media at the same time? Fill one with the other. You still need that dopamine. You still need
Right,
to
right.
feel that purpose, right? We we don't want to completely get rid of one without having something healthy that we
E-
can replace it with.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thanks, Chris, for sharing that. I think it was great information, and hopefully, our viewers will be able to maybe take a tip or some technique and apply it in their own lives to help with self-control and goal setting and making sure that they are protecting their dopamine levels in life. Do you have any final thoughts for anybody out there who's tuning in?
Nope, nope. I think that's it for me for today.
All right, very good. As always, we're truly grateful. Thank you for tuning in, watching, listening. Integrative Approaches and Healthier Living. We love you. Like, share, and subscribe. It does help our channel grow, and we were so grateful for you. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.
See you guys.